Hello and welcome back to another video here at Think Income. Today we're going to be talking about trucking and the life of a lease operator. So for those of you who do not know, I am actually a truck driver. So this is why you will notice a period of time between the videos that I post, and that's normally when I'm on the road. When I'm on the road, I don't really have my creativity for creating videos just isn't there because I'm just so focused on getting rest and being safe. So whenever you do see me create a bunch of videos that come out week by week, that's normally when I'm on home time, which is what I'm doing today. So the company that I am contracted through is Prime Inc. Here you see we drive for Prime and we keep America rolling. So I'm going to talk to you about the average day of a truck driver. So this is pretty much regardless of whether you are local, OTR, regional, whether you are dedicated, long haul. This is essentially the average day of a driver, what our shift looks like. So this one is going to be specifically for OTR. OTR stands for over the road. So just essentially we drive for up to 11 hours a day, and our shift, or what we consider on-duty time, is 14 hours. On-duty time can include anything such as pre-trip inspections, cleaning out the trailer, fueling, post-trip inspections. If you're in flatbed, if you have to stop and tighten up your load or chain your load up, whatever the case is. If we're on, when we enter into a shipper or receiver, we have what we call yard move. So whenever you're driving around the shipper or receiver, whether you're looking to pick up or drop your trailer, whether you're looking to back into a door, whatever the case is, on-duty time is essentially what is considered at work, but may not necessarily mean you're actually driving like on the road. So our day can be as long as 14 hours, but as far as driving on the road, we have a max of 11 hours, which is DOT law. For what we consider OTR drivers, or maybe even long haul, we're typically, and this can vary from situation, but typically, at least for me, I'm gone for about 3 to 4 weeks at a time. OTR, we generally tend to travel the lower 48 states, so all across the U.S. And this may even include Mexico and Canada, depending on if you have passports and other qualifications based off of the company you're with. We do. Oh, my apologies. I have recently started driving Southeast Regional. So Southeast Regional is pretty much from Florida to Virginia, and then all the way back to Mississippi, and then everything down. So Mississippi to Virginia and everything down. Live loads is where we wait to be loaded or unloaded. And then drop-in hooks is pretty much when we're dropping a trailer, which may be a loaded or an empty, and then we're picking up either a loaded or empty. Generally, most drivers like drop-in hooks because you're fast, you're in and out there, you're not waiting. And, you know, it's pretty much a straightforward thing. You're just backing up, dropping one trailer, pulling up to another trailer, backing up, you're connecting, and you're out of there. So it allows you to make money faster because you're not wasting time. Now, some people like live loads because you're waiting. So live loads can be anywhere from 2 hours plus, depending on the shipper or receiver. In some cases, or most cases, after 2 hours, we get what is called detention pay, which is when we're paid X amount of dollars for waiting to be loaded or unloaded. So pros and cons. Some people use that time to eat, sleep, cook, shower, work out, play games, watch TV, or whatever creative things they can come up with their free time. So pre-trip and post-trip inspections are initially when we're inspecting our vehicles, making sure that we're safe to drive. This can be checking everything from the inside of the truck to the outside of the truck, under the hood, tires, under the vehicle, checking the trailer, the lights, everything that is required for us to have a safe trip to and from that destination. In an average day, we do have to upload what we call BOLs, which stands for Bill of Lading. Bill of Lading is just paperwork that tells details about the contents of the load you're carrying. So weight, count, destination, and a other few other details on that as well. We may also have to upload lumper receipts. A lumper is initially when you're paying the receiver or shipper to load or unload you. That's initially what a lumper is. And whatever that receipt is, we upload that. For me, I'm a lease operator, so I have to pay for that, or that comes out of my check. And in some cases, we get reimbursed for that depending on whatever deal you have with your company. Scale receipts, it's pretty straightforward. For DOT law, we can't weigh, there's a max limit that we can weigh in order to drive safe. So a lot of times whenever we leave a shipper or receiver, we will go to a scale just to make sure we're DOT legal or safe to drive. If not, we would have to go back to that shipper or receiver and make sure that they unload or reload it so that it's safe for us to drive. Trailer washes, so I work in reefer, which stands for refrigerated industry. We carry meats, produce, that's pretty much it, meats, produce, and then sometimes dry items. So a common scenario for me to go to trailer wash is if I'm carrying fresh meat, then of course it would be like blood in the trailer, so we would have to get that washed out before we can get another load because we don't want cross-contamination. We would do arrive and depart calls, which is just a message we send out to our dispatchers, letting them know that we have arrived or departed a shipper or receiver so that they can keep track of those times. And most of that is done through a mobile application, so we don't really do much talking on the phone. The most talking that we might do is when we're going to check in to a place, when we're at the guard shack talking to security, or when we're actually going to the door to talk to the shipper or receiver. I personally don't actually talk to my dispatcher. We do most of our communication through the app, which is like a text message. And it's very relaxed compared to working in an office. Our goal essentially is to arrive to the shipper or receiver safely in one piece on time. To do this, we do what is called a trip plan, which we pretty much essentially just we plan our trips out. We look at how far we have to go. We think about how fast we have to go. We look at where we're going to stop for gas, where we're going to stop for rest. We're going to check weather and a few other things. We're just planning our trip out to see if we can even get to the location on time. We're also making sure to see if we have enough hours because we get 70 hours a week. And as I mentioned, we can drive 11 hours a day. So we're looking to see how much hours we have left on our clock to see if we can make that trip. We're looking at the miles. And then we're planning out pretty much our trip. Where am I going to stop at? Where am I going to eat at? How long is that going to take? If I'm going through Atlanta, for example, what time am I going through Atlanta? Because if you've been to Atlanta, Georgia, you know Atlanta has traffic, right? So we're looking at how long is it going to take me to get to Atlanta if I have to go there? What time am I going there? So little things like that is how we plan our trip to make sure that we get from point A to point B on time. And in the reefer industry, we don't really have a set schedule. It's a 24-hour industry. As you all are aware, grocery stores have to have food, so we don't really have like a 9 to 5. You can pick up a load at 3 in the morning, 1 p.m. Whenever the load is ready, you can pick it up. We don't have a set schedule. So as a lease operator, as I mentioned, I'm OTR refrigerated division. Lease operators, a lease operator is technically a 1099, which means we're self-employed. So we get paid 72% of revenue. As being self-employed, this means I'm responsible for my expenses, such as repairs, maintenance, fuel, damages, whatever the case may be. We do get discounts on fuel, repairs, and things of that nature. We do have what I would consider pay-as-you-go. So like, for example, let's say you need to get a tire. Instead of having to pay that large amount out of your pocket right there on spot, they can just charge it to your account and then take that out of your paycheck in increments. So if you had to get a $700 tire, instead of buying a $700 tire, paying for it right there with your card or credit card or whatever, like a owner operator would, they can just put that onto, charge it to our, I guess you can say, our paychecks. And let's say this week they might take out 200, next week 200, then next week the remaining amount, whatever the case may be. So it makes it very convenient versus having to pay that right out of your pocket, because expenses on a semi truck can get very costly over time. I am responsible for my own benefits. So if I want health insurance, if I want a retirement plan, or some of the perks that you would get as an employee, I pretty much have to find and pay for that on my own. So I don't actually own my truck. I am leasing it, which is kind of like, I guess the easiest way to think of leasing it is like renting it. Because once I'm done with the truck, I will return it back in. And then I'm also renting my APU. The APU is essentially a device on the truck that allows your air condition and electricity to power the truck while the truck is turned off, so that we don't have to have it idling and use fuel and things of that nature. By the way, the lease that I'm doing is called a walk away lease, which means that once you get a lease, you normally get it signed for a certain term. So let's say, for example, 2 years or 3 years. If I decide after 3 months, hey, you know what, this isn't working out for me, maybe a lease operator isn't best for me being self-employed, you can actually return the truck in and walk away from it. Now, of course, if you do have damages or something, like you got in a wreck, you would need to satisfy, you would need to pay for that because it happened while you had it. But if you're a safe driver, you drive the correct speed, you're cautious, and you turn the truck in with no damages, then you don't have to pay for any damages. You just turn the truck in, and whatever that last payment you had due, you would just pay for that. So I like it personally because I'm not, it's not like a full commitment, to where, like, if I were to go finance a truck, let's say for X amount of dollars for 5-10 years, I can't really walk away from that. I'm not really sure exactly, what options they have. Different dealerships may have different options, but for me personally, I just like the fact knowing that, hey, if I just wake up one morning and I'd be like, you know what, this trucking thing ain't for me, I can just go turn the truck in and it's off my hands. I don't have to worry about anything. So with Prime, they do help you with insurance, tags, permits, tolls, stickers, and everything that is needed to be DOT legal or DOT safe to drive. So most of this stuff is on the truck when you get it. Same thing with the, oh yeah, I said tolls. So yeah, in Florida we call it Sun Pass. I don't know what y'all call it in other states, but the little device for tolls. We use Prime trailer, so I don't actually own a trailer. I'm not paying for a trailer. Prime uses a trailer, so I just pull whatever they tell me to pull, pretty much. Loads are provided and dispatched, so I can choose to accept or decline a load. To my understanding, we can, and I'm not sure this may have changed, but when I was in training, I was informed that you can deny or decline up to 3 loads within a 24-hour period. And if you do decline 3 loads in a 24-hour period, then you pretty much would just have to wait until the next day before they'll give you another load. Generally, I think I've only declined 3 loads since I've started. And I started driving, or I started with Prime as a unlicensed driver back in May 2021, and I got my license, my CDL through Prime and everything. So since then, since driving, I only declined 3 loads, but the loads are pretty decent, and our dispatchers work with you, so they'll tell you like, hey, look, this area you're going into is like a bad reload area, but we'll try to get you out into a better reload area so that you can get a good load and make money consistently. But the name of the game is to keep rolling, pretty much. I am also responsible for my own taxes. So with Prime, they do have tax advisors on site. Shout out to Abacus. They can help you set up your LLC, and generally with the tax advisors on site, we pay taxes quarterly, so every 3 months. So they give us like a spreadsheet to track our expenses, and with that information, and also they have access to our paycheck stubs. So using that information, they can give us an estimation as to what the amount of taxes we have to pay for that quarter, and then we just pay that to the IRS every quarter. And then at the end of the year, they'll go ahead and tally it up and pretty much see if we have overpaid or if we have underpaid. So it's pretty cool, pretty simple. It's pretty much a breeze. So I am responsible for keeping up with my bill of lading or any type of paperwork. To my understanding, we have to keep hold of it for at least 6 months. So I normally just put mines in a file folder and just hang on to that for the year. Because I am self-employed, I choose pretty much when I want to go home and for how long. Just keep in mind that because you are a lease operator, you do have fixed costs, such as the cost of your truck and your APU. So for the truck that I had got and the amount of mileages that I had on it and the year, I think my truck payment and APU altogether is like, I think like $1,200 or $1,300 a week, maybe. So because of that, you can also, with Prime, they do give you access to what is called a emergency fund, or I believe it's called an escrow account. So me personally, I just put $750 there a week. So in a month, I'll save $3,000. So if I ever decide to go home for 2 weeks in a month, I already got, 2 weeks. Yeah, if I decide to go home for 2 weeks, I already got the money there to pay for the fixed costs. We don't have any PTO. As I mentioned, you pretty much have to make your own PTO, which would be, putting money in your emergency fund. For me, I have Novatech. If you are familiar with any of my other videos, then you know exactly what the Novatech PAM account is, but essentially my investments is what essentially pays for me on my time off. So once you go to Prime, let's say if you come in as an unlicensed driver like I did, once you go through training, or my apologies, once you get your CDL and you go through training, when I went through training, it was 30,000 miles, which is about 5 to 6 weeks, depending on if you go home. Once you go through training and you come back to Prime to the terminal in Springfield, Missouri, you would have to decide whether you want to go company versus lease. So this is an example. This is an example, not real life, but it's an example. The concept and the principle is the same. The revenue and the miles may be off. But for this example, let's say a company driver and a lease operator both do 5 loads in a 7-day period, which is a week, and they both drove 3,000 miles. So they both went to the same locations. They drove right behind each other, right? They went to the same locations, got the same loads at the same time. Company drivers, which essentially is an employee, they get paid cents per mile. So in this example, we'll say they get paid 50 cents per mile. So off $3,000, that means, or my apologies, out of 3,000 miles, because they get paid per mile, 50 cents per mile would be $1,500 a week. Now, the lease operator, as I mentioned earlier, we get paid 72% of the revenue. So because we generated $10,000 in revenue, 72% of that would be $7,200. And right now at the recording of this video, it's July 31st. So right now, diesel fuel is probably floating anywhere between $4 or $5 some change because of inflation. And I really do hope that fuel prices go down. I mean, that's going to affect everybody. But let's just say that we fueled up 4 times. We filled the tank up. So for us, filling a tank up, talking about 120 gallons, that's easily $500 plus. So we'll just say that it was $500 for the fuel up, and we'll just say that 4 times, that's $2,000. And we'll just say that the fixed cost, including the truck payment, APU payment, let's say you got your trailer washed, you got some lumper fees in there, toll fees, all your expenses came up to $3,700. So minus $7,200, let's say your paycheck would have been $3,500. Now keep in mind, company driver would have got $1,500, lease operator would have made $3,500. Keep in mind, this does not include any deductions, right? So both of us have to pay taxes. Both of us would have to, assuming that both of us have health insurance, both of us would pay health insurance and We both may have money that we set aside for retirement, life insurance, things of that nature. But essentially, as you can see here, there is a major difference between the amount of money that the lease operator would have made versus the company driver. And this is simply because one is paid by the mile and one is paid a percentage of revenue. And this is the big reason why a lot of people, well, I'm not going to say, depending on what you're looking for, this can help you decide either which way you want to go, whether you want to be an employee, which does comes with benefits such as PTO, for example, or a lease operator, which comes with being self-employed, tax benefits, and a whole bunch of other benefits. But this is like the biggest difference between lease and company in reference to pay. There are other differences, but in reference to pay, this is one of the biggest differences here. So in reference to talking about fixed costs or variable costs, when I talk about fuel, so when I first was in training back in August in 2021, this is a picture of what the fuel price was at the time, $336, or my apologies, $3.30 a gallon. So at least at 100 gallons, I was only paying $336, which I know if you're not a truck driver, that seems like a lot of money to pay for fuel, and it is. But in June, which was last month, we're now at about $5.65 a gallon. So as you can see here, I'm not even at 100 gallons yet. Not even at 100 gallons yet, and I'm pretty much already at $500 compared to when gas was, not gas, my apologies, fuel, which is diesel. We do not put gas in our trucks. Diesel. So here, I'm already at $100 and I'm only paying, what, $330 plus? And you see this truck is burgundy. This is when I was on my trainer's truck.
Still going.
So that's over a $200 difference. Well, that's over a $2 difference in gas per gallon. Golly. Diesel. That's over a $2 difference in reference to cost per gallon. But that translates to over a $200 difference in price whenever we're trying to fill up our truck. And this is an example of variable cost, right? So as a truck driver, especially as a lease operator or an owner operator, the two things that we focus on most is the rates, which is how much the load is going to be, which essentially for us, we still look at the cost per mile, right? So as we see here as a company driver, they're getting paid cents per mile, whereas lease operators and owner operators, we're getting paid dollars per mile, right? So a lease operator may be getting paid like $2 a mile, an owner operator might be getting paid like $5, $10 a mile, for example, quote unquote example. But yes, this was just a quick video talking about trucking as a lease operator. I did not go into too much detail because I didn't want to make this video too long. But if you all do have any questions or concerns, please reach out. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. And I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.